Hello and welcome to Geoscope on Politics Social. I'm Graham Hughes and I'm joined this evening, as almost always, by Ollie Bowlerhatman. How you doing, Ollie? You all right,
Right,
mate?
all right, all right. I'm very well, thank you very much.
Goody, goody, goody. Glad to hear it. So we have in the chat, we have SG, we've got Graham Haller, a different Graham H. We've got Diz in there as well. We've got Vendetta, we've got Liam Furhus, we have Saz in the chat, being all sassy. We've got one angry pagan, being all angry, I guess. but saying figs, love, and blessings. So that's nice. I think one angry pagan should update his handle to one lovely pagan. What do you reckon?
Yeah,
One lovely pagan. That'd be great. Anyway,
definitely.
so today is obviously October the 7th. It's the 2-year anniversary of the horrific attacks carried out by Hamas militants in Israel, which led to the deaths of over 1,200 people, mostly civilians, and the taking of over 250 hostages. There are about 50 hostages that still haven't been returned. 20 of them are believed to still be alive. And for the people of Israel who have been affected by this, obviously their life has been hell for the last 2 years. And for the people of Gaza who have had to deal with the incursion into their territory by the Israeli Defense Forces, who have blown the shit out of everything and led to the deaths of over 67,000 Palestinians. They've been living in hell as well. So it's all been a bit shit, Ollie.
Yeah.
Is there any hope on the horizon with these peace talks taking place in Egypt at the moment?
Uh, we hope so. We generally do hope so that
We're hoping for
something does
some
come of
hope.
this. Yeah, we really hope something come from this because I don't see where you go from this. And people always put a lot of blame on Israel for some of the failures of like the previous attempts at like ceasefires and peace talks, but Hamas has also had its own, violations of ceasefires and not, shall we say, played ball during some of these ceasefire talks as well. So, it takes two to tango in these conversations, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Um, in
Well,
this, but I hope something does come from this because the people that are eventually suffering from this are, of course, the Palestinian people at the end of the
yeah.
day. Um, and it really cannot go on.
But the stated goal of Israel at the beginning of this was to destroy Hamas and free the hostages, and they have completed neither of those missions.
Well, exactly. This is one of the worst aims of this. Technically, if you look at what a lot of other foreign militaries have said when they've said about this, they have pretty much destroyed like 80% of Hamas in the Gaza Strip. The main problem you have now is that all the other elements of Hamas are not in the Gaza Strip. They're in places like we saw a couple of weeks ago in Doha, where Israel got in trouble, where they bombed.
They bombed Qatar.
Yeah,
They bombed
they they yeah
a sovereign
they bombed
state.
another country to
Yeah.
try and get you know
So
madness. But
yeah, yeah.
this is the problem with trying to fight this type of terrorism.
But
But
also every time they murder someone's, well, blow up a building, blow up a hospital, there's only 25 out of the 38 hospitals in Gaza are now out of service completely. Newborn babies are being forced to share um, oxygen masks. Mothers are unable to breastfeed because they're so malnutritioned. And the starvation deaths can now be counted in the hundreds, and they're mostly children. Now, if you are a family member, your child has been killed, your parents, your mother, your sister, that's just making more potential people to sign up to
yeah,
Hamas and spend the rest of their lives getting their revenge. And
the thing
so,
is, I don't think it will be Hamas because we've seen the fact that the Palestinians have actually protested against Hamas in
yeah,
the Gaza Strip. Um, so I do hope Hamas loses a lot of power, and I do hope someone else takes over the running of the Gaza Strip. I do hope it's the Palestinian people that end up doing it. Um,
well,
But
It's
we'll
not
see what happens in
necessarily
these peace
a
talks at the
peace
moment.
plan.
This, we might get Viceroy Blair in.
Oh my God.
That was one of the weirdest ideas put forward.
The Viceroy of
Thoughts on this?
Palestine, Tony Blair,
Mm,
still looking for his weapons of mass destruction in the bins round the back.
yeah.
So Steve Witkoff, who's a Trump twat, and Jared Kushner, who's Trump's son-in-law, because there's no nepotism like American nepotism. They're both in Cairo at the moment for these peace talks, and the so-called Trump plan is just a excuse to massage Trump's ego.
Yep.
Demands Hamas disarm and surrender power in Gaza in exchange for limited aid, prisoner swaps, and an end to the bombing, but no path to Palestinian statehood. I can't see them saying yes to that. That they've accepted some terms, hostages for prisoners, Israeli withdrawal, but not. They've accepted that the Israelis may withdraw. Well done. But they haven't agreed to disarmament. And I feel like the people who were instrumental in disarming the IRA or taking out the racists in the racist apartheid regime in South Africa, I think they'll be looking at this going, what the hell? This isn't going to work, because it's just rushed and it's quite one-sided, and it is like, do this or we will annihilate you. This isn't a negotiation.
The biggest problem I think that I've seen and has frustrated me throughout this is that there has been no serious path to actually how do we solve this problem. Now, a lot of people instantly that we've seen, in support of trying to end this war is the Palestinians need their their own sovereignty. Well, that's okay, but how do you go about doing that? How do you go about talking things like reconciliation? How do you go about building up institutions? There's a lot of questions and answers that need those answers, and it already exists. And this is what I've been really frustrated about. Is it already exists? It's called the two-state solution. We should be calling and remembering that path to peace exists. It's already there. Part of it we've sort of done in the past sort of couple of weeks. We've seen a lot more countries recognize, for example, the state of Palestine, which is again part of the two-state solution.
You can't have a two-state solution without two states.
Yeah,
you can't have a two-state solution with 1.5 states. It just doesn't work. But the Gaza Strip is one thing. The West Bank is now a mosaic of Jewish settlers and areas where Palestinians are not allowed to go, places where Palestinians are allowed to go, and it is a complete and utter mess.
It's a mess.
And the idea of being able to uncouple that, I think they're going to find it very, very.
It is going to take a lot of work. It is not going to be easy. Even the two-state solution, it was a good idea back in the day, but like you said, when it was originally signed with the Oslo Accords back in, was it 2000 and I want to say 2002?
The Oslo Accords, I thought they were 1995.
No, wait, wait.
I don't know. I'm going to type
no,
them into Google.
You might be right. No, I'm thinking something else.
Oslo Accords, 1993. Sorry, I got ahead of myself. Yeah, 93. We 10 years out. But that was Yitzhak Rabin, who was then subsequently shot dead. He was assassinated a couple of years later, and the Palestine, the PLO negotiator Mahmoud Abbas signed this declaration, to the Oslo Accords, and to the PLO renounced terrorism and recognized Israel's right to exist in peace. But Hamas came out of the wreckage of that because it all sort of fell apart. A extremist Jewish Israeli killed Yitzhak Rabin because he thought that he was being too generous to the Palestinian people. And let's not forget, the big problem in all this is Benjamin Netanyahu, who at the time was quite grateful that Yitzhak Rabin was murdered. because he did not
Yeah.
want peace. He's never wanted peace. It's never been his thing. He's always wanted in the back of his head, and he's talked about it since the 90s for there to be a greater Israel, which incorporates the Gaza Strip and the West Bank.
Yeah, and again, we've said it since the start of all this. The biggest problems, biggest obstacles, you've got Hamas
Mm-hmm.
and right-wing Israeli government,
Yeah,
and you have those two things pretty much being the instigators for all the problems you have now in that area.
yeah, yeah.
Um, you cannot solve one without
Like,
solving both of them.
even
Even if somehow
yeah,
Netanyahu, um, we know there's all these like corruption scandals, etc. Following him. That's why he's so desperately trying to cling on to power.
yeah,
Even if he somehow falls, you've still got to answer the question: well, how do you deal with Hamas? Then what do they what do they do to sort of disarm? How do you do that? We've seen throughout the past 2 years they've been very coy about, well, we might disarm. Well, we're not going to disarm now, but
yeah.
we will disarm, or we're not now. Um, it's it's a mess. It really is an absolute mess, and it hasn't got any easier. And the two-state solution is still the best solution
Yeah.
for trying to solve this crisis, and it's something that I think we need to be calling, I think, more on now more than ever. I think.
Well, Japan's foreign minister, Ta- Takeshi Iwaya, has warned, or Iwaya, I think it's pronounced. He's warned Israel any move to destroy the two-state framework could lead to sanctions against Israel or the recognition of Palestine. I didn't know that Japan hadn't already recognized Palestine, but this is a big shift away from Japan's usual neutrality on these things. Japan tries to
Yeah,
keep its
Japan's,
head
yeah, very.
down, generally speaking, since World War II, for obvious reasons. But yeah, I mean, and Qatar was pointing out that Israel should have already stopped its attacks under Trump's framework. He should have stopped the attacks at the weekend, and they didn't. And Keir Starmer has actually started condemning Israel a lot more than he has in before, as even in opposition. And yeah, I think the way things are going is everyone is absolutely sick of this
Mm.
going on every day, seeing these horrific reports of these atrocities that have been committed. And it's not just the bombing of the hospitals and the schools and all that, which is bad enough. It's also reports of mistreatment of prisoners, sexual abuse of prisoners, torture of prisoners by the Israeli Defense Force, and the fact that there are no journalists, independent journalists, allowed in Gaza to be able to report what's actually going on, which gives Israel a hell of an out, because every time a building gets flattened and the numbers coming out of Palestine or out of Gaza are X many people died, the Israelis just say, "Oh, that's Hamas. Hamas is saying that. You can't trust them."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "But there's footage of the building coming down, and there's clearly people in it." Like,
Yeah, I mean, there was a incident a couple of weeks ago about a number of journalists who um were using a hospital stairs
yeah,
as part of their where they would normally like do reports from, or where they
yeah,
would set up like their laptops, their Skylink to use the internet to send the reports off. And Israel bombed that
yeah.
stairs.
Well,
They knew that they were there
more journalists
at
have
that
died in the
point.
last 2 years in this conflict. A lot more journalists have died than died in World War II.
Mm.
The whole of the conflict, the whole 6 years of the worldwide conflict, because a lot of these journalists have actually been actively targeted by the IDF. The one that you're talking about there was on a kill list. They targeted him, even though they didn't have any credible evidence that he was a terrorist. He, for all intents and purposes, he was a reporter. He was just telling people what was happening down on the ground. So yeah, situation is really grim. Um, And for the 2 years of the Israeli families who have been without their loved ones, and the Palestinian families who are without homes now, it's just misery piled upon misery, and all it's doing is building up hatred and spite and this desire for vengeance for future generations. Kids are
Yeah, I
watching
mean, there
this
were a
now.
lot of Israelis that have really disagreed. We've
Yeah,
seen again over the past 2 years, a lot of Israelis have completely disagreed with what Netanyahu is doing
yeah.
constantly, and they've been very, very, very clear on this, showing their displeasure on this. So I think it's always, worth reminding people that there is a sizable number of, Israeli citizens that have gone,
No.
no,
Yeah.
we
Not
didn't
in our
want we
name.
didn't want this. We
Yeah.
wanted to get our people back, but we didn't want this to go this way. This is unbelievable.
Yeah.
So it
But
is
but some
it
of
does exist, is there?
so,
And I think it's something that should be talked about a
some of
lot
the
more.
weird shit that the Israeli government have been doing, like stuffing the votes for Eurovision and paying for adverts on YouTube, calling the UN liars
Mm.
and saying that the Palestinian people are bringing this famine upon themselves. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, like, what is going on there? But I feel like madness is contagious, and with what's going on in the States at the moment, I mean, oh
Mm.
my God, it's like a free reign for everyone to be bloody nuts, which brings us on to something else. Well, we'll finish off talking about this first, actually. We'll just, what will peace even mean after all this loss, all this suffering, all this death? What is it? What does it even mean? Is it just going to be an absence
I
of
think it has to come
fighting?
down to a lot of reconciliation.
Yeah,
No, after any conflict, if there has not been a very successful reconciliation attempt or attempts to sort of cool temperatures down or change opinions, eventually these types of conflict end up reigniting.
yeah,
And if there isn't that there, which again in the two-state solution, there is a whole section about reconciliation in there, which is again why we need to be supporting, I think, the two-state solution more so now than ever before. Um, then there's no chance of, I think, being a permanent lasting peace.
yeah, yeah. I think you're right. Anyway, so talking about the Trump administration, you just shared a picture, didn't you? This is from last week of
Oh, this is the soybean crisis.
so we like to talk about Javier Milei on this channel because he's a fucking dickhead and he's the leader of Argentina. The we were away for a few weeks, so we didn't do a geoscope. But if we had, we would have been talking about the fact that the Argentinian peso was on the edge and the economy was about to collapse when along comes Donald Trump and gives billions and
Yep.
billions of dollars of aid to his mate with the chainsaw.
I can't believe he's done this. I genuinely cannot believe he has decided to try and bail Millet out,
Really?
because you've got to remember, he's already had, prior to this bailout from Trump, he's already had in the history of the World Bank, the biggest physical bailout of currency ever
Yeah.
prior to this happening.
Yeah.
And now Trump's come along and gone, here's even more physical currency.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of crazy, isn't it? But yeah, he's done this. And so there was this picture, Scott Bessent, who's a dickhead, who's one of Trump's lackeys that follows him around. He's a US Treasury Secretary, right? And don't forget, when you're in the cabinet in America, you're not an elected representative. You don't have to be qualified. All you have to be is the president's mate. So this dickhead, Scott Bessent, has been named US Treasury Secretary. And he's sitting there looking at his phone with all the press behind him. So a member of the Associated Press got a picture of his phone and what was on it. And this is bloody nuts, right? So this is a message, right, which was linked to an X account belonging to a grain trader called Ben Scholl. And they think it came from the US Agriculture Secretary,
Yeah,
Buck
it came from the
Rollins.
US Agriculture Secretary. Yeah.
Just a heads up, read the message. I'm getting more intel, but this is highly unfortunate. We bailed out Argentina yesterday, and in return, the Argentines removed their export tariffs on grains, reducing their price to China at a time when we would normally be selling to China. Soy prices are dropping further because of it. This gives China more leverage on us. On a plane, but Scott, I can call you when I land. And
Yeah.
the post by Mr. Scholl said, a link to the message says, China and Argentina work together for soybeans as Bessent offers to subsidize the Argentine economy.
Yeah.
They think
Do,
you are stupid.
yeah. Do you want to know how important this
They
is?
don't think.
Right.
They don't think. They
Right.
know. They know you're
Right.
stupid. Sorry.
Out of the entire soybean crop that's grown in America, 54% of it goes to China.
Fuck.
Yeah. So this is a big, big business.
Farmageddon.
And then that 54% represents, I think, between like 20 to 30% of the amount of soybeans that China buys.
Yeah.
So that is a huge amount of business, not only for Chinese buyers of American soybeans, but also American farmers who grow those soybeans. Because right now, it is almost harvest time.
Yes.
And they have
it is harvest time.
There's this massive crop of soybeans, and they cannot sell them to anyone. And I think they're looking at like a third of soybean farmers potentially going bankrupt because of this, unless Trump bails them out. And this then gets even
Trump is going to bail them out. This is what he's planning to do.
Yeah, this gets even more insane. So put a pin where we are, because we're going to be coming back to this in a bit, because you have to remember the Trump tariffs, which caused all this to begin with.
Now, remember, I'm going to come to, because they're affecting us with steel in a moment, but you go on.
So all that money that Trump has been getting from those tariffs, Trump is now been saying he wants to use that tariff money to bail out the farmers. However, there's been a recent decision in one of the courts that has declared those tariffs that Trump has put on illegal. Right? So this could go to the, this is going to go to the Supreme Court.
Take them though. They can continue to take the tariffs, can't they? If it goes to the Supreme Court, he'll get off, because the one is made.
Well, this is the if this gets struck down, if these tariffs get found to be illegal, because technically this is a tax, and there's a lot of America started with the phrase no taxation without representation.
Yeah.
So if this is found to be illegal, then Trump has described this as, quote, the doomsday scenario.
Yeah.
Where he has to give all that tariff money back to those companies.
Yes.
So imagine now for a second, Trump gives all that money to bail out these farmers, and now he has to give that money back. These US farmers are completely screwed. Completely and utterly screwed.
Well, no, not necessarily. Not necessarily. Look, he bailed them out once before. He can bail them out again. America can print money until it collapses. And the Supreme Court's probably going to side with Trump. They're probably just going to go, sound, mate.
Will they? I don't know.
Yeah, there's 6 of them who are nutters, mate. Clarence Thomas doesn't give a fuck
I don't
as long
think
as he's
so.
got his Winnebago. He just does what he's
told. This is one area where it's like this could set a very bad precedent that they potentially don't want to set, because this then gives future presidents the right to essentially raise taxes without going through Congress.
Yes.
So if they set that precedent, then future presidents could then decide to start doing that, and I don't think they're going to want to set that precedent.
But El Presidente's had that power since the 1930s, hasn't he? Since the Smoot
only for
Act.
Emergency situations, which normally has been linked to things like, oh, we're at war, so that's been sort of justifiable, or there's this thing going on, we need to do this, but while that's going on, let's go to Congress and get this sorted out.
Yeah.
The only problem is Trump has not gone to Congress, even though the Republicans control the Congress.
Yes. Oh, because he's lazy as well. To go and play golf instead.
Yeah. It's honestly these I cannot stress these soybean farmers in America, because remember, this is 54%. China represents 54% of the American soybean crop. A lot of those farmers are going to go bankrupt. They're going to lose their farms, their livelihoods. it's gone.
Mm.
Why? Because China's gone, well, there's other places we can buy soybeans from, namely Argentina.
Yeah, and Brazil. Yeah. And this is US farmers who are asking for a bailout, which they might get, they might get it. But
But they
20
wouldn't have to do this
$20
bailout if they
billion
didn't have the Trump
dollars.
tariffs. This is
Trump,
the
I
insane
know, but
thing.
Trump gave Millet $20 billion, 20 billion swap
Yep.
line for
Yeah,
Argentina.
$20 billion in physical cash.
Yeah, that is fucking insane to his
Why?
mates.
No, this is a good point. We have to explain why it's physical cash, because remember, the World Bank gave this in physical cash. Trump has given this in physical cash. Why the need for physical cash? So this all goes back to the fact that, remember, Milei has dollarized the peso. He
Yeah,
has linked the peso to the dollar, which
yeah,
has now potentially overvalued. Well, it's not potentially, it has overvalued the peso by about 20 to 30%,
yeah.
which, if you know anything about currency being overvalued is very bad news,
Well, yeah,
especially if there's a bit of an economic crisis that ends up going on.
yeah.
So what people have been doing is, instead of using pesos, they've been going and using dollars. So when this all started, Argentina's dollars currency reserves very, very quickly dried up.
Isn't that what he wants, though? Isn't that what Millet wants? He wants to move
No,
to the
that's
dollar.
not what he wants at all. He wants it to be spread around and started to be used. The problem becomes is that all these dollars are not staying in Argentina. There's a lot of these dollars that, like, these Argentinians are using, that they're going to Brazil, Chile, and they're using those dollars to buy items
Yeah,
that they can get with their really powerful dollar. That if they tried to buy it in Argentina, the price is like 5 or 6 times higher. Whereas if they go to Chile, they can get it, 10 times cheaper,
yeah, yeah,
because inflation is affecting Argentina because they've vastly overvalued their own currency. They also now pretty much do not control their own currency because it's linked to the dollar. Um, Chaos will eventually ensue. This is a time bomb that Milei himself has planted in Argentina's economy. It is literally tick, tick, tick. And remember that this World Bank loan that he got was only 4 months ago.
yeah.
How long is this bailout that they've got from Trump going to last? 3
Well,
months? Two
well,
months?
there's a report on the BBC from a few hours ago saying that Trump is saying that he is going to bail out the soybean farmers. Now, that's not the only crop that they grow in America. And there's other sectors that have been hit. Maybe not quite as bad, but pretty bad. One of which is the wine sectors, but where there's
Yep.
most wine from America come from. California. Do they vote for Trump? No. Are they going to get a subsidy? Not going to happen. Are they going to get a bailout? Nope, not going to happen. So,
And you've also got to remember, technically, this is what we're in the sixth day
yeah.
of the American shutdown as well.
But yeah, during Trump's first term, research showed that the $28 billion bailouts that he gave to farmers flowed disproportionately to the biggest farms.
Yep.
And you'll never guess who's got shares in a company that buys up family farms and turns them into big corporate farms.
Yep. Oh, did it start with a
JD
T?
Vance. No, JD
Oh,
Vance.
JD Vance.
JD Vance has huge shares in these companies that do this kind of shit. So that's a bit shit. And then another knock-on effect of the tariffs is that we are still, even though we're not in the EU, so it's okay because we've got a slightly lower tariff rate for sending stuff to America, not for steel and aluminium. It's still 25%, the same as the EU. The EU is thinking about tariffs on imports of steel and aluminium, which wouldn't affect us if we were still part of the EU, but we're not. So, well done, Nigel Farage. You've ruined another sector of British industry, you twat. There you go, Nigel Farage. Yeah, the fog-faced foghorn of fucking ignorance. But yeah, this is going to be like, the Brussels is seriously considering doubling the steel tariffs to 50%, and that will threaten the UK industry because of WTO rules. Do you remember WTO? Does everyone remember? Yep. You're supposed to not.
Yeah, no, favored nation status, I think it is.
Yeah. But Trump's been riding roughshod all over that. I don't think the WTO have any teeth anymore, because he was just putting tariffs on whatever, wasn't he?
The whole reason why the WTO isn't working is because of Trump's first term.
Yeah.
I mean, because he refused to appoint any judges to the WTO.
Yeah.
Which, again, in his second term, he is still not doing. So there's all this backlog of cases that they're still trying to get through because of Trump's first term. So, yay to the WTO.
Yeah. Talking of political chaos, France, they've lost another prime minister. It's like the drummers from Spinal Tap. The prime ministers of France at the moment. I think they've had about 27 in the last few years.
Yeah, I think they've had how long did this one last? Was it 2 weeks?
I think, 3 weeks, I think.
Yeah, it wasn't long.
Just over 3 weeks.
It wasn't long at all.
It was less than a month.
Yeah.
It was even less than Liz Truss. And that's impressive.
Well,
she didn't hang around long, did she? Just turned up, killed the Queen, crashed the economy, and then fucked off. It's amazing. I still think 44 days.
Yeah, I still think if the Queen hadn't died, if we didn't have that 2 weeks of mourning period, she'd have lasted even shorter.
Yeah,
she would have gone even quicker.
Yeah, I think you're right. Meanwhile, over in the US today, Pam Bondi, she was grilled over the Epstein list, and she just refused to answer any questions. She was in Congress, supposed to be answering questions, and one of the Democrat congressmen came up with a list of 50 questions that she avoided, 50 things that she avoided answering, and it's just, if you can watch that clip of him listing them out, it's monumental. Meanwhile, in Brazil, getting back onto our tariffs. So in Brazil, Trump has put a 50% tariff on everything coming from Brazil, because Brazil followed their penal code, their justice, their method of justice, and the judicial system, their legal system that is set up legally for them to legally put someone on trial for committing crimes. And if they're found to have committed the crimes, they get sentenced to a punishment, which might be some, I don't know, maybe go pick up some trash at the side of the highway, or it might be prison time.
Yep.
And their former president, Bolsonaro, that's what I say. He's currently residing at Her Majesty's pleasure. Well, it's not Her Majesty over there, but he's currently in jail. And Trump didn't like this, so Trump put a 50% tariff on everything coming over from Brazil. And now the president, Lula, is pleading with Trump to scrap these tariffs, signaling a growing Latin American frustration, desperation with Trump and the shit that he's doing. The shit.
Yeah, this is how you lose allies permanently. This is not how you win allies. Very, very much so. On that front, but something else to bring you up to speed. And do you know Japan's also got a new prime minister?
Again, is this the left wing one for a change?
No, this is actually the first ever female prime minister.
Ooh,
but she's far right ethno nationalist.
Oh fuck.
Yeah.
We give women the vote, and they give us Thatcher and May and Truss.
Yeah, again, just a quick catch up.
I'm joking.
Just a quick catch up for people. What's going on in Japan? The ruling party currently at the moment in Japan, that's ruled pretty much Japan since the end of the Second World War, has been caught in a massive corruption scandal. There's all these crazy stories about them flying the mistress from Canada, who was a jazz singer, to take part in some weekend getaways in a cabin in Hokkaido, and all this crazy stuff going on there. But they have basically taken an absolute beating in the polls, and it is looking like that for the very first time in the upcoming election, they are going to lose.
Yeah.
So it could be all change in Japan. Which party will win, we don't know. Japan has a very bad history of having opposition parties because they've sort of risen up and then disappeared, and then another one takes the place. It's all been very fragmented opposition on that one. Um, so we'll see. It could be a coalition government.
Mm.
I think it's very likely to end up being some form of coalition government. But the whole reason why they've elected this new prime minister is that when it all goes wrong, she's the one who takes the blame.
Yeah.
So that's how Japanese politics works. So yeah,
So yeah,
we'll see what happens there on that front.
we will. We will. At least there's the International Criminal Court has convicted a former Sudan militia leader of Janjaweed, who so like 20 years ago, I'm sure you've heard of the Darfur region in Western Sudan. There were non-Arab tribes that rose up against the government, and the government, you know, got together a bunch of mercenaries from Arab tribes and sent them in to do whatever they wanted. And the figures are absolutely horrific. 2.5 million people, I think, displaced, and 300,000 people killed, many of them butchered. They used rape as a weapon of war. And this guy who has just gone down for this, he's been found guilty on 27 different counts, and his name is Ali Muhammad Ali. Why is he called Ali twice? Ab al Rahman. So yeah, quite grim. What came out in the trial, but at least he's now been found guilty, and hopefully he'll never see daylight again. I don't know. Meanwhile, down in southern Africa, Eswatini, former Swaziland, has taken another 10 refugees, not refugees, people, taken another 10 people as part of a US deportation deal. So this is a thing that rich countries do now. They go around to poorer countries saying, will you take some of these people? We don't want them. And they go, okay, well, give us loads of money and we'll take them. And they go, okay. So now there's people who are possibly from, I don't know, Guatemala. Now they're in Eswatini, which I don't think any American could find on a map, to be quite frank. But yeah. And yeah, there's meanwhile in Morocco, there are protests going on at the moment. I think there's been about a week of protests going on. And yeah, there's 3 people have died. And yeah, they're facing tonight for a 6th night of protests, which yeah, the security forces have been using tear gas, and the recent wave of youth anger was sparked by earlier protests over poor hospital conditions after 8 women died in a public hospital in the city of Agadir. Not particularly great. Have you got any good news?
Well, yeah, the Taliban have shut the internet off in Afghanistan.
I thought they did that by accident because they were trying to censor it, and they cut the wrong cable.
So yeah, this is not story, but it's not surprising. Most people, I think, if you know when one of the bizarre bright spots from the US invasion was the fact that there was a renaissance in Afghan culture, in music, in all kinds of areas, because it was the first time that all the mass censorship laws didn't exist. So there's a whole new generation that have grown up not under Taliban rule that have experienced this for the first time, or have rediscovered sort of their culture again after so long on this. And of course, one of the big reasons that was still spreading, even when the Taliban had retaken over after the US had left, was because of the internet, through things like TikTok, Google, etc. The access to the internet to them had been a big, provider to that culture still. And of course, well, Taliban don't like that type of stuff, so they attempted to take that down on that front. But as you said, it's by the sounds of it, yeah, they've cut a fiber optic cable to prevent Vice. Oh, okay, right. So it's me then. Uh, um, so yeah, I hope we're all okay, going well, with the ongoing of the world. But I want to go back to Argentina very quickly because we talked about, if you remember, you know, Milei's popularity is plummeting as well. The people during the break that we were on, they've had, believe it or not, they have had rocks thrown at Millie. Millie's been out like in an open top vehicle, like trying to spread his message and go, "Oh, look at me, how great I am!" And people have been throwing rocks at him. Like his popularity has plummeted. And in the end of this month, there is going to be a big election in Argentina, which is going to try and, well, at least he was hoping to secure more members of his party into, you know, into the government. So to maybe
I don't
pass
think that's
more
going
of
to
his
happen.
stuff, is like crazy libertarian right wing stuff. But looks like that's not going to happen. So yeah, I suppose,
Anarcho-capitalist
yeah,
nonsense.
good, good for Argentina on that front.
Yeah. I'm looking up the Japanese Iron Lady. She sees Margaret Thatcher, this is new Prime Minister of Japan. She sees Thatcher as a inspiration.
Mm.
She looks like she's had work done. She looks like she's had a lot of plastic surgery. Um, but maybe not. I don't know. Maybe it just looks like that naturally. What do
Yeah,
they
it's
call
going to
it?
be
Do they call
interesting,
it
Japan.
Mar-a-Lago face? Don't they?
Yeah, honestly, I think when the election happened in Japan, I think the outcome of that could be very interesting because you've got to remember this party has been in charge since the end of World War II.
Mm.
That is insane to have a party that has been in power that
In a
long in a
democracy.
democratic country
Yeah.
that is not a dictatorship.
Yeah.
You know,
It is a bit weird.
that yeah, there hasn't been any like, poll fixing or anything like that. They have had proper, full open democratic elections and they have maintained power for that
Mm.
long. That is insane. And to see this happening now, you could get huge, I think, changes in Japan.
Yeah.
Huge changes coming in. But it's what does the future, politically of Japan look like? I think it could be some form of coalition. Will another party actually take over?
Yeah.
If it is, very interestingly, because a lot of people don't know, the Communist Party of Japan, not full on communist, the more socialist, they might end up having a big role to play. So Japan might end up maybe implementing some socialist policies.
Yeah.
So they
Yeah.
do have a sort of left wing tradition in Japan, but because of, again, a lot of American dominance, Vietnam, the Red Scare, they've been
Yeah.
very, very much not full on communist, shall we say, or full on socialist. So it will be interesting to see what they try and do if they get into power or they get into government and how power sharing in Japan might work in
Yeah.
that way. So
Well,
interesting times over there
yeah.
if you are going to be watching Japanese politics.
Well, yeah, I just mentioned about Milei in Argentina. He's like he came out singing like a big rock star, like on the stage in this big arena with all these fans screaming. It's so fucking bizarre. What the fuck is wrong with people screaming
Yeah.
for a politician? What has happened? But yeah, down in you're right. You're about to sneeze.
Yeah, no. I just
uh,
don't know why my ears are just filling up. I just had to pop them.
But in America, the National Guard have been sent in, haven't they, into
Oh yeah.
Chicago? They're arriving there today. They're from Texas. I mean, if you're gonna piss people off in the north, send people from Texas. Yeah, Cool, cool. And Trump said that because America is still shut down, it has been since last week.
Yeah,
Last time this
6 days.
happened under Trump was because he wanted his border wall. Now they're shutting down because they want to take Medicare and Medicaid away from millions of Americans
Yep.
and make it so that that the 200 quid that they spend each month, which is subsidized towards their medical insurance, goes up to 1,200 quid. And that's what's going to happen. And a lot of people who voted for Trump are going to be like, I can't afford this. And they're going to die. They're literally going to die because they can't afford healthcare
I'd
for
be
their
interested to see how this
chronic
long this
conditions.
goes on, because I think the longest ever government shutdown, I believe, in modern American history is 8 days.
No, it's 35
Is
days.
it 35
No,
days?
it's the last time Trump was in.
Is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And this time he's saying he's not going to give back pay. He's not going, and he's going to try and sack as many people as possible.
Yeah.
In woke jobs.
This will be interesting. This will be interesting to see how long, if the Democrats can hold on for, and how long the Republicans start to feel the pain. Because you've got to remember, next year it's midterms.
Is it though? Is it?
It is.
Will they go ahead?
I say I think they are absolutely going to go ahead. They are, I think, going to be very, very much so. A very big win, I think, possibly quite possibly for the Democrats on that front.
Yeah. Well,
but Ukraine news as well. Trump's finally supporting Ukraine. Hooray!
Is he? Is he? What is it? Is it Tuesday?
Yeah. So
is he still going to be?
This is kind of even more important, because obviously one of the big things that the Ukrainians have been doing, they've been striking a lot of the Russian oil refineries.
Yes, and driving up oil prices and petrol prices, more importantly.
Yeah, to the point that they are not exporting.
Yes.
They've stopped exporting for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
In an attempt to try and stop this. But here's the thing, those exports pretty much fuel Russia, right, this entire war. It funds their war effort. Yeah. Russia's already growing quite a significant deficit. If they stop those exports, that becomes an even more bigger problem. Trump has now said he's going to start supplying intel to the Ukrainians for striking more oil and energy infrastructure, which is a great step from previously where we were.
Yeah.
Not only that, but there's now talks of potentially them handing over Tomahawk missiles, which, if they do, the Ukrainians will have a weapon that will pretty much give them full strike capability over all of the heavy industrialized areas of Russia, meaning they will be able to pretty much strike any weapons factory, oil refinery, you name it. So hopefully that comes off, but that's been talked about in the past couple of days. So again, fingers crossed Trump this time means it. Basically, very much fingers crossed he means it this time.
What a time to be alive. Jesus Christ. But yeah, I mean that's some welcome news. I mean, this is off the back of a Ukrainian initiative, though. And the thing is, Trump, whatever happens, Trump will take the credit for it, won't he? He's never to blame if it goes tits up, which it usually does.
Yeah. But honestly, in this regards, I don't care. Let Trump take credit for it. If the Ukrainians get the stuff they need, I'll just go, yes, Trump, God, you're so excellent, brilliant. Just bring that stuff over to Ukraine. Excellent, crack on, good on you, Daddy Trump. Who cares? Just let them have the stuff. As far as I'm concerned, that area.
Well, onto the other side of the planet, up in the Himalayas, there's been this blizzard, and about 1,000 people who were trekking up Everest got trapped in this blizzard, about 5,800 meters above sea level. And the Chinese, this is on the eastern side of the mountain range, so it's on the Tibetan side. And according to China, they managed to rescue 580 hikers who were trapped. It was near Mount Everest. It wasn't like they were near the top or anything. but a final group of around 10 hikers accompanied by rescue workers is yet to reach Kwadang, but they've made it to a rendezvous point which has heating equipment, oxygen, and other emergency supplies. So the hope is that pretty much everyone got out, I think. But it just goes to show, like, don't fuck with nature, lads. If nature wants to kick your ass, nature will kick your ass. We see this time and time again. Just to go, I know we're sort of darting around the world here a little bit, but just to go back to France for a moment, Bacquelin, their PM, Emmanuel Macron. Do you think he's the time is running out for him?
Oh, you never know in France. Trying to predict French politics, it's very difficult. One of the things you always got to remember about the French in particular is they are very, very vocal, very, very vocal indeed. If they do not like a leader, as we've seen with Macron, they will get very vocal. And well, part of this crisis in many ways that you're seeing now is a result of the French public being very, very unhappy. One thing that we do know that is, I think, very, very different to our own politics is that the French do go out and vote in blocks.
Yeah.
So you saw this with Macron. Every single time that, it's been him versus Le Pen, the left has gone, ha, we're not voting for Le Pen. We'd rather have Macron. So we will see if that still continues to hold in these future races, or maybe some of that stuff maybe starts to crack. If Le Pen gets in and she does win, she's not going to have an easy time of it at all.
Can she stand?
Well, that's very true, actually. That's something else. Yeah, because she got caught up in her own scandal, didn't she?
Yeah.
That's very true at the moment. I'm not 100% sure she can stand or not.
Apparently, she'll face an appeal trial next year, and in a case that could block her from running in the 2027 presidential election. So she might not be able to do that. She was convicted this year of misusing European Parliament funds for over 12 years, causing an estimated loss of around 3.2 million euros. Fucking, that was so corrupt. What about this Nathan Gill creep, the Welsh leader of Refuck, who took loads of money from the Russians to stand up in the European Parliament?
I mean, this
Russian
once again
propaganda.
Yeah, this reopens again the whole Russian stuff. This should absolutely be revisited. Absolutely revisited. By the way, if you are in the UK, do write to your MP about this. It definitely needs to be done.
Well, we have got a couple of announcements to make. First of all, David Stottart, welcome, sir. You are awesome. Welcome to Lone Star. He's joined the channel. You can join the channel as well. You just hit the join button, become a member, you get your name at the end of the show, and you get access to our Discord server. Paula Thomas. Oh, Ollie, just got a dressing down for you, mate.
Oh,
sorry to be the bearer of I don't know, bad news, whatever. Paula says, "Oh, for F's sake, Tomahawks were a sea launch only, really useful to a country with no navy." Apparently Tomahawks can't be launched. I just imagine like a missile in the shape of an axe.
Not really. They can air launch Tomahawks. They can air launch Tomahawks.
Air launch.
It's a different type of Tomahawk. Because the Tomahawk
planes.
is like the name of the family, and then the air launch Tomahawk is the BMG 109 on that one. So you can launch it from an aircraft instead of a warship.
Well, there you go.
So and the Ukrainians do have aircraft. They do have things like, say, they do launch Storm Shadows
cruise missile.
Yeah.
A ground launched variant of the Tomahawk cruise missile developed by the United States.
Yeah, they do launch that from, like, say, Storm Shadows, very similar sort of weaponish package. They are launched from
they're launched from a Gryphon transporter dash erector dash launcher.
That's why you wanted to read that.
That's what TEL stands for. TEL. Transporter Erector Launcher. But yeah, there you go. So, but it says here service history 1983 to 1991. So this is old kit. It's like
most of the stuff that you've got to remember, most of the stuff that the Ukrainians are being given and being used is like from the 90s, and all of it was, of course, made to fight the exact same stuff that the Russians are using. So, you know, it's a good job that we kept all those stockpiles around.
So they'll be getting a variant of the missile, so they could launch it from the ground or from a plane, I guess.
Yeah, they'll be able to adapt to it.
Yeah. And Chris, we make more money when we make mistakes, man. This is great. We should keep doing this. Liz Truss was the best prime minister we ever. She was the best queen we ever had. Chris C, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. Ollie, the BGM 109 is a naval and submarine launch variant, not an air launch variant. Well, it says on the internet that it's a ground launch variant. Why is the internet lying to? Why are you lying to us, Wikipedia?
No.
You bastard. BMG 109C Tomahawk land attack missile, conventional. There you go. It was originally a modified bullpup warhead. This means nothing to me. And there's also the BMG 109D Tomahawk land attack missile. And then there's the Tomahawk land attack missile. I mean,
when they say again Tomahawk, it's the name of the weapon, and then there's all these different variations.
Okay, everyone can look up the variations on Wikipedia. I just put the link in the chat. But thank you very much for giving us money for being right. That's even better than getting money for being wrong. But yeah, so do you know a lot about all this kind of like ordnance and stuff? Are you quite into your
I'm not
Warhammer?
I'm not that military type of buff.
Oh, okay. You're not the type of people who watch like old films and go, that gun wasn't around in that decade. No, it wouldn't have had that fluting. No, that design. No, it would be completely different if it was that era. And then you write it on Internet Movie Database. That gun is not right for the era in which this film is set. It makes no sense. But yeah, and Pete's Music says, fucking savages. They're eating the badgers. They're eating the badgers, says Diz. They're eating the swans. They're eating the cats and dogs. Land attack means exactly that. They are used to attack land targets and not launched from land. Well, I'm sorry, but the picture looks like the all-weather, long-range
from an aircraft.
The thing, it says transporter, erector, launcher, and I'm pretty sure it's got tires. There you go. I'll just put this one on.
There's another one here, the 109 Tomahawk air-launched cruise missile. There
you go.
B-52 launching that very same cruise missile.
I've just done the same. I've just fucked up. I did the same link. I didn't control C hard enough. I need to control C harder.
Yeah. I mean, there's a
story
literally.
I've just removed someone's. I just removed the wrong bloody message. Oh no, I'm sorry, blah blah CW. I didn't mean to withdraw your message. I meant to do mine because I got the wrong thing. And Ollie, help me out here, mate. I just removed the wrong one. Sorry. Just can I? Blah blah was just saying doesn't matter, Chris C. Not important. Okay, good. Phew. Are you putting stuff in now, Ollie?
Yeah, that's a report. That's a one from the Euromaidan about the Ukrainians identifying targets to use for the Tomahawk missile. Literally, the article is 5 hours old.
Okay, cool, excellent. So, yeah. Right, let's get it right then. We're nothing if not thorough on this show. Oh, right. Anyway, so where were we? We were talking about all the terrible things that are going on in the world, but we've got to go because it's past and we've got to shunt everyone over to our friend Maximilian Robespierre. And there's a special reason why you should watch Maximilian Robespierre's show today, not just because we're going to shunt you over there whether you want to or not. Well, I suppose you could navigate away. It's Max's birthday today. It's his birthday. Woo. So we want you to go from this place to that place and say, we've come over from Politics Social. Ollie and Graham say hello. Happy birthday, Max. Okay, can you all do that? Can you all do that for us? Thank you. That'd be awesome. So thanks very much for watching. Thanks to my wonderful co-host, Ollie. Thank you for all the messages. Thanks for the super chats. I'll be back at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning with Morning Brew. Giz a like on the way out, like. And until next time, I'll say hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. Happy birthday, Max.